All right, so hey, people of God, this is Rashana B back with On My Way Up movement, and I'm back with an awesome word. So, people of God, I had wanted to talk about not trusting God. Okay, I had never thought that you could actually, like, it really is offensive to God to not trust Him. Okay, like it really offends Him, and that He views it as though you're testing Him, until He led me to Psalm 78. And in Psalm 78, it says, through verses 18 and 20, I'm paraphrasing, that God got angry because they tested Him. And so the Bible tells us in 78 verses 21 through 22 that it was because they did not trust Him. God admonishes them, the first part of the chapter of Psalms, that they need to share their testimonies, to remember your testimonies. This is why, people of God, when the devil attacks you, he wants to make you become silent. Okay, he wants you to become so, just bogged down with defeat and discouragement that you no longer have a praise in your mouth. You no longer have a testimony, because your testimony is what helps your faith grow. It helps you trust God. And it's a command by God, according to Psalm 78, to share your testimonies with generations to come. So therefore, this is the beginning of a faithful legacy. This is the beginning of, your successor understanding the power of God and the necessity of God in their life, and that they have to trust God, because only faith pleases God. And so 78 shares with us the consequences. I'm talking about explicitly about not trusting God. And so you will see that in 34, or matter of fact, the whole book of Psalm 78, the whole chapter of 78, okay, that they suffer acute pain because they don't trust God. Okay, God literally strikes them with premature death. Okay, in verses 78-34. Okay, they actually get cursed with a life of futility and fear, according to 78 32 through 33. It literally says that they spend their years in futility and fear. That means they're striving. That means they're working hard. That means that they're getting it out of the mud, hustling till their knuckles bleed and seeing nothing. Okay, everything that they do is futile. Nothing that they do prosper, and in total they suffer poverty and lack. Okay, they spend their life in fear. Psalms 78 verses 32 through 33 says, and it means that basically they never have peace. When you don't trust God, you don't have peace. You're always in a state of anxiety, fear, insecurity. You can't even trust the goodness of God when you don't trust Him. Okay, it's almost like when God blesses you with an awesome, God-fearing spouse, and you get in this marriage or this relationship with this spouse. You're dating this spouse that God has sent you, and you cannot enjoy it because you do not trust them. Okay, same with God. You are in an awesome, beautiful relationship with the Most High, with Yahweh. I am, okay, our Abba, and you cannot rest in Him. You're still in a state of fear and insecurity, and so you can't trust your blessings. So that is also like a curse. Okay, and so it says that, in verses 34 through 36, okay, that basically they try to play God. They find their way back to God, and they, basically verbally reforge their covenant and their faithfulness, their oath of faithfulness to God. But God says that they were basically playing Him, and it says that He knew, and even though He knew what they were doing, He was still merciful to them, because He knew that they were only flesh, okay, that they were human, and that they were only weak vessels. Okay, but this chapter shares with us a plethora of consequences of not trusting God. Go back and read Psalm 78. And so, in short, because they tested God by not trusting them, they suffer bondage, reproach, premature death. God kills off the youth in this generation. Okay, it even says in the next verse in 78 that the maidens were unable to get married. Okay, so He cursed them with anti-marriage. They weren't even able to get married. Okay, so they basically had no legacy. For one, they wasn't even passing down testimonies, so they didn't have a spiritual legacy. Okay, and so they suffered poverty, spiritual death, because it says that all of the priests were were killed. Okay, so they had no sound spiritual leadership. Okay, so imagine a world where there's no sound leadership, as far as, in Christianity, a believer of the truth, okay, a believer of the Bible. Okay, imagine if all of those were killed off. For those that are left behind, that is detrimental. That is basically spiritual death. Okay, so they had lack of sound spiritual leadership. Okay, spiritual death, poverty, no legacy. The maidens couldn't get married, so it was anti-marriage, a curse of anti-marriage upon this generation. Premature death, God struck all the youth and they died. Okay, reproach, bondage. Okay, they became a laughing stock. Okay, other nations laughed at them. They had become basically a horror. Like it was an awful state that they were in. They were a joke because they did not trust God. And a lot of the times we do not realize what a lack of trust does, that it offends God, that it tests God. Okay, you are admonished, to test God in a different way as far as with your giving and your generosity, but not test his power. Okay, as far as not trusting him. We need to trust God. That is the only way we can live a wholesome, fruitful, productive life. And as a human being made in the image of God, that's what we were put here to do. We were put here to multiply. We were put here to be fruitful. We were put here to bring glory to our God. So people of God, I hope that this word bless you. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. Tell me what you think about my content, and you all have a blessed night. I'll be back with another word.